Hey everybody, we're the good doctors of Abbey Research. I'm Dr. Erin.
I am Dr. Kristen.
Welcome to our continuing coverage of Netflix's smash success, Bridgerton. We did not plan our matching outfits for today. We're just that much in sync with each other, folks. Just rocked up to the Zoom session, dressed like this. We're here to talk about episode 3 of season 1, because we just found out season 2 is coming at us.
As we record this.
Hooray, hooray. So we're going to talk about the art of the swoon. There is no definitive article in front of it. And here we get really juxtapose the relationship of Daphne and Simon as it evolves and dissolves. Spoiler alert, but I mean, the show's been out since Christmas, so spoilers. Always spoilers with us. You know this. If you're just joining us, we're two doctorates. We like to talk about all things culture and society, but especially women and gender in society. We are huge romance fans. Dr. Kristen, way more than me. She's been at it for decades longer.
It is the longest love story of my life.
Your love affair with romance.
I love affair with romance novels.
So that's the perspective we bring to this. We are huge fans of Julia Quinn as a writer. We adore Bridgerton as a series, though it has faults. All books do, all shows do. But we're situating ourselves before we get into episode 3 so you know what our vibe is. We do have some critical thoughts on the show, but if you want a Bridgerton teardown, this ain't your jam.
No, we're not. We don't have salt fests about Bridgerton on this particular channel. We are sure they're out there and you can enjoy yourself.
Go all God's children. If you didn't like it, it's not your cup of tea.
We affirm that. Go find your joy.
It is very much our like pots of tea.
Mm-hmm.
So speaking of tea, the tea that we get is Daphne and Simon, Penelope and Eloise a little bit trying to figure out how Marina got pregnant, what's going on with Marina, who she's going to marry. Lots of Marina and Mrs. Featherington. And a little bit of Anthony and unfortunately Sienna. Spoiler, not spoiler. We're not huge fans of the Marina or Sienna storylines. In large part because they're not in the books, but also just because they're not the strongest parts of the episodes. So Daphne and Simon's plan is a success. Daphne is batting away the proposals as we speak. And there's lots of balls in this episode. We see people seeing Daphne and Simon together, and they're all convinced it's a love match. We get the introduction of a Prussian prince, played delightfully by Cormac McLagan from the Harry Potter series, but also one of our favorite shows for one season anyway.
The first season of Unreal, we really, really enjoyed.
The first season of Unreal where he played the Bachelor. Yes.
2 thumbs way up.
So good. If you would like to see more content with that particular actor, I thought he was delightful in this, if not entirely necessary.
Because we will tell you right now, love triangles, again, we said it in episode 1, but love triangles are not a romance trope.
No.
So
so this like, who will Daphne choose? Not a thing that happens.
No, and we didn't really understand. We know we're book apologists. We're not trying to say that we're not ever, but especially with him and Scarlett just both feel like MacGuffins. And Sienna, sorry. Him and Sienna are just MacGuffins. And we're not entirely sure that they were, that they told us anything important about either Daphne or Anthony that could not have been told in other ways. So.
Correct. Yeah. And we feel similarly about Marina as we were talking about this. Because the key part of the Marina storyline in this episode is that Mrs. Featherington is trying to like knock some sense into the girl that she's in a really precarious position because she is pregnant and unwed. She has told Mrs. Featherington that she is in love and that she's got great letters to prove it. And Mrs. Featherington's like, yeah, but where is he? If he loves you, why isn't he marrying you? How are you going to care for this baby? And we think it's really important to have these conversations, especially when we're talking about what life was like for women in 1813. both from the what's Marina going to do and from the perspective that Penelope and Eloise have no idea what sex is and how pregnancy happens. Those are two very important conversations to have about women during this time. Did we need Marina and her whole storyline to tell it? No.
Especially because, spoiler alert, I feel very strongly that the last 3 episodes are rushed. So Dr. Aaron feels less strongly. This is like a hill I will die on, but she still doesn't she still thinks the pacing's off. Okay. We just wait. To me, it's like we wasted time. Like all that time I spent with these people I didn't need.
If you came to us from our Crown coverage, you will know that we often talk about shows and how they manage time and manage storylines and arcs. There was definitely a bit of that in Bridgerton, and Marina is an example of that. If you want to have conversations about what it's like to be unmarried and pregnant, it could have been just the story that Penelope tells Eloise that her maid got pregnant.
And if you wanted to have a conversation about what happens when it's a titled woman, because I think that's or like an upper class woman or anything else like that, like that's fine. But then why do we have to play around with Colin Bridgerton? So there's like some, and then some of the stuff at the end, and like we'll get into that where like a couple of the decisions with her, we just didn't need as much time with her.
Right.
Dramaturgically, we didn't understand what service it played in this season. Now we could look back 5 seasons from now and say, oh, it was really important that we got that much time for Marina. We open ourselves to be written in pencil. But right now, this is our feeling.
We don't know. We do know where she's going at the end of season 1, which we will get to by episode 8. We don't know where they're going with Marina's storyline. We have some hints because we've read the books.
And she gets referenced in book 5, but not until then. And so like we've got 15 years in Bridgerton time before she's referenced again.
Before we find Marina again. So we're not quite
sure what's going on.
In this particular episode, we see a burgeoning friendship between Penelope and Marina, and Penelope helps get a letter out to George Crane and is the one checking the mail every day. And then at the end of the episode, we leave Marina rather devastated because she gets a letter from Sir George saying he doesn't want to be with her anymore, breaking her heart.
It wasn't from Sir George.
Spoiler alert, it was from Portia Featherington and her lady's maid. And I think it's so interesting because so much of this show is about what happens when you marry for love and like trying to find that in a society where that wasn't the norm at all. And Portia Featherington is always the pragmatist, made so because she didn't marry for love. Hers was not a love match. And so she always sees it from this perspective of transactional, I think, in a way that is a lot of times I'm empathetic to her perspective. But this time it was really cruel what they did. There's no two ways about it. But she sees it as she's protecting Marina, I'm sure.
Or even if she's not protecting Marina, because I don't entirely know what her emotions are at this point. Her job is to get Marina married.
Yeah. And her job is to make sure that, and like, I just thought of this right now, but think of how frightening it would have been for Portia to find out that this woman she is now forced to bring out into society is pregnant.
It's going to taint her daughters.
Knowing that she has 3 daughters. She must have been petrified to think, what if it gets out? What if I can't get her married? What if people start to guess that she's pregnant? No one will touch my daughters. My only job, I only had daughters. My only job is to make sure that they are married well.
And we get a little bit more insight into the Featherington marriage because in this episode, we get the first hint that Lord Featherington is not just indifferent, which is what we've gotten in the first 2 episodes.
Yeah.
But he is instead emotionally disconnected from his family.
He's not invested in
like, I don't think he cares about them as people, even his daughters, I will say. And he is also incredibly bad at gambling and yet seems to do it all the time.
Yeah, we get a scene from Anthony and Simon at White's at the men's club where Lord Featherington continues to lose. And we get some foreshadowing for that. So that's the Marina storyline, the Marina of it all. And then back to our Daphne and Simon. This is where
we'd like to remind you that we don't mind using sex words for sex. So.
Oh, yeah. I guess we should start to say that now at this part of the show. Yeah, so this is the episode where Daphne and Simon, build a rapport, build a friendship, decide they're going to help each other out in this scenario, and Daphne's like, I need a husband, you have to help me find a husband. So they start to have a lot more honest conversations.
Their walks in the park are some of my favorite scenes in the whole show.
I love it. We get an interesting conversation between Daphne and Anthony where they hilariously don't know how to turn on the stove. Of course they don't. And we start to see Daphne thinking that like maybe something could come of my fake relationship with Simon, and Anthony's just always shooting her down. One of the big scenes between Daphne and Simon, I just made it Diamond in my head, a portmanteau, happens at Somerset House where they're all looking at paintings, and they have a very personal conversation over one of his paintings that was his mother's favorite, and we get the hand touching scene, which I love so much. We also see that the prince is very interested in Daphne. It's pushed towards Daphne by the queen, but he actually is quite taken with her as well. She is a diamond of the first water, as we remember. And then we get the promenading through the park where Daphne goes, you've got to tell me some stuff. I'm starting to think about relationships and things and humans. And Simon's like, have you tried masturbating? Obviously, he doesn't say that out loud, but we all know that's the way the conversation goes. Daphne is shocked. She has no idea what her body does or what pleasure is. She finds out in this episode when she goes home and masturbates. It's a success. Hooray for Daphne. Hooray for a television show that would like to show us these things and have these conversations. But then shortly after that conversation, Lady Danbury pulls up on Simon and says, if you cause her to lose out on the prince because of your dalliances, that would just be cruel. If you're not going to marry her, let her go. Boy, folks, does he let her go. He crushes all her little hopes and dreams in his hand, tells her, we've never been friends. What a ridiculous notion.
This is also trope watch, by the way.
Huge trope watch.
Huge trope watch. I can't have her. And so instead of using my adult words and saying it would be bad for us to keep doing this, I treat you like a pile of garbage.
I tell you, you were merely
I gaslight you. What I do is I gaslight you.
Sadly, when men don't want to come to grips with their emotions in romance novels, we very often get gaslighting. And you are correct. That huge, I did not write that in my original notes, but that is trope watch a go-go.
Trope watch a go-go. Also, women do it in romance novels too. Like a huge trend in romance novels is people that cannot use their words.
Yeah.
If they can use their words, we don't have 350 pages worth of tension. So.
I'm just reading this book where the Duke intentionally loses his house to a guy in a game of cards and gives her her favorite Titian painting, all because he can't say I love you.
Oh no, even better than this. So I just finished one last night, a contemporary one, where it's like two dueling chefs or whatever. We know the whole time that she's trying to open up her own restaurant. We've known this like the jump. Every conversation they have, he tells her that like he can never be betrayed again. Like he has a really hard time trusting people.
Yeah.
And I'm like just flipping through my Kindle, being like, "Girl, use your words. Girl, use your words. Girl, use your words." No. She just quits. Just quits the job.
Obviously.
Like child.
Because one of the things, if we haven't already explicitly mentioned this, we did in our earlier episodes that romance novels are essentially Hallmark movies with sex. And in the Hallmark movie, there's always the tension, right? There's usually 30 minutes left where like the couple breaks up or there's a big revelation or something.
A big misunderstanding. There's
always a misunderstanding.
Love a misunderstanding.
So there has to be a break so there can be a reconciliation. Sometimes it happens multiple times in books, as it happens multiple times in this season with Daphne and Simon. But there's always that kind of break. So this was very tropey, but also I just felt really bad for Daph. That was very, very sad. And then we get to see Violet starts pressuring Anthony. There's some stuff with Sienna in this episode. Y'all, I really don't even feel like talking about it.
It's okay, I will, because I have thoughts with capital T.
You can give me thoughts on Sienna. We'll finish up Daphne here. At the end, we get yet another ball in the season. And Daphne's like, I'm going to give them what they want. They think I'm perfect. They want me to be perfect. I'm going to be the perfect diamond of the first water. Simon can do one, and I'll go for the prince. I love her attitude when she comes down. She's like, I'll play the game. You want me to play the game? I tried not playing the game, and I just got stepped on.
So, like, literally, I was born to do this. You want me to play the game? I'll play the game I was born to play.
I will play the best game.
And I am Bridgerton, and therefore I am good at it.
Yeah. And what's interesting, and like Marina shows up to this ball and is also like, my heart's broken. I'll play the game. I would love to dance with you, random titled man. And like neither of them want to play the game, but they have to because it's like survival at this point.
Yep.
And then Simon can't look away from Daphne, and then Violet's very upset because she doesn't understand what's going on. But that's the end of Daphne and Simon. And I guess we'll finish up by our thoughts on Anthony and Sienna. And they're kind of back and forth and back and forth.
What I'm not sure of is Sienna the woman against the tree?
She is, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I've watched the first episode 3 times. It's her.
Fair.
Yeah, so he's only having sex with the one person.
Which doesn't make him a rake.
Exactly. No, it makes him actually very committed.
It makes him monogamous just with the wrong person he can't marry, which is a different category of Regency hero.
Correct. It's a different trope.
It's a different trope. So Anthony's journey in this season is perfectly encapsulated by Violet's question to him in the second episode. Are you a brother, or are you the Viscount Bridgerton?
Are you the head of this household?
Yep. Which one are you going to be? And being the Viscount Bridgerton means some very specific things that you are currently not doing. And it's one of those, like, that's fine, but like, boyo, you're in your 30s. It's time to like, or you're at least approaching there probably.
Yeah, so, she's like, why are you looking at your father's watch? You're not doing your father's work.
You're not doing your father's work. Oh no, so yeah, so he's probably like doing Bridgerton math, like 27, 28, I think, based on.
I think so, because he's like 8 years older than Daphne, maybe.
Daphne, and we're thinking she's like, 20? They never came out by the time you hit 20, you were on the shelf in worlds. So she's 17, 18, 19, somewhere around there. I read again, I've said it, that she's 19.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter, but I know Julia has like a timeline, so I'm gonna look it up while you're talking. But
so, and I think when we get to Anthony's book, he is 30.
Yeah, he's usually the male leads in het normative regencies are around 30.
Around 30.
Very rarely are they younger than that, which is then why the Colin Bridgerton thing can upset me so in this book or in this show. It's like nobody gets married that young. Stop.
No, which is one of the reasons Anthony absolutely fucking loses his mind when but that's for another episode.
For another episode, yeah.
The thing with Sienna for me is that I'm not, again, dramaturgically not sure what story they were trying to tell us with Anthony. Because if they were trying to tell us that he was so in love with this woman and felt the push and pull of duty, I'm not entirely sure that like this was the way to do it, nor am I sure that then it makes sense with how okay. I can't talk about this without talking about how they end the season and then where I think the book is going. So if you are somebody who doesn't want excessive spoilers, we'll see you next episode, and we'll kind of give this
time out. Just time out right now.
We'll see you later. The way they end the series with Anthony is him saying that he is now going to get married.
Yes.
But he does not need love.
He doesn't need love. Nope.
Daphne and Simon laugh, which they should. One of my favorite parts of book 2 is how much absolute shit Daphne gives him.
Y'all,
the whole book.
It's gonna be. We better get it.
The core of Anthony Bridgerton, as he has been presented to us in the books, is that he watched his parents be so in love, and his dad die so young.
And very suddenly, yes.
And very suddenly, that his fear of being the Viscount Bridgerton is that once he becomes the Viscount Bridgerton, he will die and leave somebody alone.
Yeah, and he literally feels that like it is his destiny, like his father, to die young.
He looks at his watch so often because he is running out of time.
Yeah.
Like he is Alexander Hamilton. He is running out of time.
That line in this episode where Violet looks at him when he's looking at the clock and she goes, "Time is of the essence." Big clue for book Anthony. For show Anthony,
I'm not sure.
Not what they're giving us necessarily.
Not what they're giving us. So we get additionally, what we have set up with show Anthony is that he and Simon are rakes. This is what. Having a mistress is not being a rake. Having a mistress is actually being a proper gentleman. It was assumed that he would have a mistress.
Yeah.
It was assumed that he would have had a kept woman.
Yeah, it's not controversial at all.
At all. It is controversial if you sleep with a whole bunch of widows that aren't your mistress. That's what's controversial. It's controversial if you spend your night with a different woman from the docks every single night. That's controversial. It's controversial to go to brothels. Yeah. It is not controversial to have a mistress.
No, and you're expected to keep them.
And that is how opera singers made their living. That is exactly what Madame Delacroix and Sienna say in this episode.
Yeah,
we need to find another boyfriend.
We have to make our way in the world.
So that's cool. She did need to find another boyfriend because Anthony does need to get married, but he's not going to break up with his mistress until he's ready to get married.
Yeah.
Like in this world of Regency premise that we have been established, I don't know, by the 900 books I've read with this exact same plot.
I was about to say, like, there's not a lot of variance in romance.
Like, there's a lot of common knowledge here.
Yeah.
So I don't get this. He's not a rake if it's just Sienna. And so...
And if he can't, like, think about anybody else, look at anybody else, touch any other...
If you want to tell us the story that he is so in love with this woman that then he's broken and he doesn't believe in love again, then we've lost a really essential part of book Anthony.
Yeah.
And his feelings about his parents' marriage. Now, again, every single Bridgerton child has intense feelings about their parents' marriage.
Correct.
That is another through line.
Yes.
Violet talks to them about her and her husband's marriage in every single book. Before all of their weddings, they talk to their mother about, I just want what you and father had. This is a key through line through the whole series.
Yes. And
so I'm not sure what they were doing. I think this does a disservice to Sienna as a character to bring her back after this point.
Yeah, it really should have just been a break.
It should have been a break. If they wanted to, if you want to show me that Anthony was a dick and he like left out and didn't give her cab money home and like didn't treat her like a mistress, that is often how we are told people broke up with their mistresses. But that is a man of low character who does that. A man of high character would make sure that mistress was taken care of until the mistress found another boyfriend.
Yes, very similarly to the way that we dispatched Nigel Burbrook, because he's not a man of low character because he has a bastard child.
He's a man of low character because how he handled the bastard child.
Because he did not take care of that bastard child.
So there are rules of propriety within the world that this show has broken.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why.
I don't know why. I felt really bad for Sienna in the second half of the season because I didn't understand why she was still there.
Like it was never going to be okay.
And why Anthony doesn't understand.
Like Anthony's not dumb either. He's like, this doesn't make sense.
So we'll pause here for some timelining that I have for us. Daphne is 8 years younger than Anthony.
Great.
When this show is set in 1813, Anthony is 29 and Daphne is 21.
Oh, okay. It's a little bit older than normal book thing, but still, when I was 21, I was very dumb. So,
and
in the ways of the world.
Edmund Bridgerton, the former Viscount, died in 1803. So Anthony was 19. So that's important because a lot of the first 4 Bridgerton children, even 5, Eloise really knew their father.
Yes.
Eloise, not as much because she was, I'm doing the maths.
And 7. Very famously, Violet was pregnant with Hyacinth.
Yeah.
She was 8 months pregnant with Hyacinth.
So Gregory, Francesca, and Hyacinth don't really know it, but like Anthony, specifically Anthony Benedict and Colin and Daphne knew their father very well and knew their parents' marriage very well.
Yes.
And so that is an important part of understanding who these people are. And so, yeah, I agree with everything you just said about Anthony. If you want to see 2 people disagree about things in Bridgerton, we're not your folks because we pretty much agree on most things.
Like I have one of my very good friends on the planet, like we are super, super close and she hates this thing. So like we understand that that we are, if not a minority, like I think a lot of people love this thing uncritically, and that's great. I love things that people love uncritically, but when people look at it critically, we may be in the minority of people who love it and still think about it critically. I'm not sure. But this is us. I will never quite, it'll take a little while for me to quite understand what they were doing with Sienna, and it will probably take me through seeing season 2. Because the story that they've told me about, I defended Anthony to a lot of people that were, as they were watching the show, they were just like, Anthony is terrible.
Yeah.
He is, but his journey in 2 is so good. And then like, the longer I think about it, the more I'm just like, but I don't know if you set yourself up for the journey he takes in book 2. I don't know if you did, but yeah, I mean, he's a cold-hearted rake in the beginning of book 2.
Yeah. And like, he's, and that's the thing that like, that I think they did Anthony a disservice in this season 2, because in the first book, Anthony is very responsible for his family. I mean, he still botches Daphne.
Totally. And he's like toxically masculinity responsible, like the duel and the whole 9.
But like in terms of recognizing that it's his job to marry and have kids, he's never questions that.
No, that's very true.
He never questions that because he's known he wasn't 8 when his dad died. He was 19. So he knows what was expected of him. He had 19 years of his father teaching him what it was to be the oldest son. And so for me, it doesn't like that. Those were the parts of Anthony that didn't jive with me in this season. Cause I was like, no, Anthony was always going to get married and have kids. And he
like
knew
his
that.
line to Simon, where it's like, you don't have the luxury that I have, which is brothers. Like, buddy, Benedict and Colin are not going to give you the heirs. That like, it's not their job to give you heirs. It's your job to give heirs.
And Anthony, book Anthony knows that. And this is the other thing where it's like, if you don't read romance, you don't understand this. And that's not a criticism of everyone out there who doesn't, but it's one of those things where I'm watching it going, yeah, but every man fucks about until he's 28 or 29. And in this world,
in these fantasies that we have created, this is a truism.
In these worlds, almost every one of the male protagonists of a heteronormative, relationship.
Finding a virgin hero in a romance novel is like a thing that goes on the back cover. Like, it's a thing.
There's always an age difference because women had to marry. You were on the shelf if you were 23 and unmarried. But if you're 28 and still fucking around, for a man, that's totally normal.
Totally normal.
So there's no part of this that like Anthony isn't like, he's starting to get up there where he should start thinking about it. And Violet's right. But like, he's still not behaving abnormally for a man who's 29.
Yeah. So there's just a couple inconsistencies there. I love a reformed rake. I really do.
They do make the best husbands. Violet's right.
but I don't know if changed Mana, like he was in love with Sienna.
Apparently.
Like that's a different dynamic. That's different energy than we're bringing. And so I'm just not sure. Now,
I guess they're banking on the
monogamous. That was the word I sat there searching for 7 seconds. Sorry about that.
Okay. I think maybe they're banking on how much we seem to love the star-crossed lovers storyline. But like, I think we, as humans, that like they're of different backgrounds and they can't be together in the end. But like,
that's not romance either. Like that's not romance.
That's not romance, and that's certainly not Regency England. And maybe that's
it could be my baggage. Yeah.
It could be my baggage just from the last 4 years of reading these books, but I didn't feel bad for either of them because I'm like, but you wouldn't even have those thoughts because nobody has those thoughts that like I
feel bad for Sienna because he wouldn't let her go.
Yeah.
Like she played this perfectly right. She knew what this was from the jump. He's the dick in this, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Right. And if we would have left her after episode 3, I would have been like, oh, okay, that's fine. They show me, like, you want to show me Jonathan Bailey's bum all you want, and torso and all parts of Jonathan Bailey. I'm here for it. Show him having sex with a bunch of other people until we get to episode 8. Cool. I'm fine with that. Yeah.
Let's find him in a whole lot of other opera singers' beds. Then he's an actual rake.
Then he does what it says on the tin. Yeah, since we're talking this through, as we talk this out, I agree. I 100% agree with you. Like, the Sienna storyline would have been much better if they had just ended it with this break where she's looking for somebody else and her and Madame Delacroix are like, ugh.
And then like she shows up a couple more times at things.
Sure.
Like that could have been really fun, but his pining after her doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
But like, I would have loved to see her again at parties. Like, sure, like that's part of her job.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Just one little hat tip. My favorite moment of this episode was when Madame Delacroix spoke in her actual accent instead of the one that makes her money.
And we
That's
learned
one of my favorite like small Regency tropes is when we find out that the French seamstress is from Essex.
Happened a lot.
Happened a lot, and I love it. The
Yeah.
French fetishization of the English world at this time is amazing.
Yeah. No, I agree. I concur.
And overall, I love a show that says, you know what, we are going to show you a woman having an orgasm and we're going to have her. So one of the, for people who aren't aware, one of the reasons that we are particularly passionate about this is that very famously, the Motion Picture Association of America allows more beheadings of women for R ratings than showing a woman's face having an orgasm. So it is more okay to behead a woman, to rape her. You can show her face while she is being raped, but you cannot show her face while she is coming. If that is crass, I apologize, but that is, I don't find it as crass because I find their policy crass, not necessarily what we just said. And so since learning that and kind of being aware of that about 15 years ago, when I learned that policy of the MPAA, I have been on watch of every property that shows us women's faces during sex that is pleasurable to them rather than sexual assault.
Mm-hmm.
And this show loves showing us Daphne's face. And Phoebe Denever's mother is a soap opera actress, and I have a feeling that they did a lot of face work together to get us there because she sells it.
Some quality face acting.
Quality face acting from our Phoebe. If nothing else, I will be grateful to Bridgerton for that narrative that they brought into the thing. I desperately also hope, as we sit here, we're recording this on January the 21st, which is when we got the season 2 announcement. And I have a list of other series that I believe people should be adapting. And I desperately hope that the money that Bridgerton is making Netflix brings more series to, for everyone who's trying to remake Sex and the City 19, I just want you to know that there's all these books with different stories that we would love to have told. And for anyone who loves watching romance novels, by the way, there's a thing called passion flicks, which is romance novels made into movies by Elon Musk's sister. So they tend to be they're all contemporary romances. She has not tried her hand at anything historical, but if you like your hero being a race car driver, have I got movies for you. So we'll make sure to put a link to passion flicks in the show notes. But
I think you're 100% right. Like, as so many reviews of Bridgerton that I've seen is like, it's escapism, it's fluff, it's like, it's fantasy, and it's all those things. It's wonderful. It's wonderful to escape to a world with these fantastical costumes that are an exaggeration of Regency England and like all of this stuff. But like, I don't think we can say enough or too many times how important it is to have the female gaze in a show like this, to have the focus on female pleasure and the conversations about women that they're having. And that's in the seriousness why we knew we had to talk about the show, aside from the fact that we will gush about romance for days on end. But I wanted to reiterate that, and we're going to be saying it clearly throughout the rest of the season as we get a lot more cum faces from Phoebe Denever. But it really is a big deal, folks. It really is. It's not something that we're used to seeing or that we hardly ever get to see. And it is 2021. And on that note, we are going to sign off, and we'll see you for episode 4. Bye.